What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. In the last video we pulled in this red truck. We thought the engine was completely locked up. We ended up getting it to start. It ran for like 10 minutes, everything seemed fine. I drained the oil and we had a ton of metallic stuff in there. And this truck is supposed to be the replacement for my 2016 Ford F350, which is kind of a similar thing. It's a 2016 version of this. This is 2014. This is kind of more of a work truck. My truck has, layered interior, like all of the fancy things. This one's just like the basic one. This is supposed to be the replacement for my truck temporarily. I'm trying to sell my truck right now, and I actually had a buyer and he actually backed out. It's still currently for sale. No matter what, this truck needs fixed, and it needs fixed right. I went ahead and decided we're just gonna go ahead and pull the engine out of the other white truck and put it in here. That way we know we have a solid, good running and driving truck. That way if I do sell my truck, hopefully soon, that way this one is ready to go. But before we get started with this video, I just want to let you guys know that this video is brought to you by MotionAutoTV.com, where every dollar spent gets you entered for a chance to win that Civic right there, plus $3,000 in cash. Currently, we are doing cash in every single order. So we're doing our cash and orders promotion, and that is going to end on the 8th. So if you guys are interested in the Civic, if you like that thing, we just cut and buffed this thing. The paint is so freaking nice on it. It's absolutely insane. Like, you could just sit there and you could just look at me in the paint. It's beautiful. If you want the chance to win that thing, link in the description. Check it out after this video. Also, we just upgraded the pit bike, which is our VIP giveaway for this giveaway. So if you are a VIP, you get double entries, and we are giving this away to one of our VIP members. This is a 2021 CRF 110 fuel injected pit bike. It has upgraded HD springs in the front, HD springs in the rear. It's got a shifter, it's got pegs, it's got bars. It's a sick little pit bike. So if you guys are interested in that, you want to join the VIP, have some entries, good luck. We're gonna start tearing into these trucks. So yesterday I actually went ahead and pulled the pan off of this red truck and found some things that I didn't really like. So you can see right here, this was actually right underneath the oil pickup tube. So that is some pretty serious, that's some pretty serious bearing material in there. And I'm just, initially I was gonna send this thing with the very minor amount that I seen, but now seeing that, I think it's a little bit worse than I thought. So obviously we need a truck. We don't need a whole bunch of downtime. I don't want a bunch of downtime right now, between like ordering bearings for this engine, tearing it apart. I don't have the engine stand. It's gonna be a long process. It's probably be about a week or 2 weeks, plus we're working on a bunch of other things in the background. So I think the other white truck might be an option. So I got this white truck pulled in yesterday and drove it around the yard a little bit. Everything, I mean, it shifts good, it drives good. This engine literally sounds brand new. And since this was kind of a theft recovery, you can see 71,000 miles in 2016, and it basically like got stolen in 2016 and then recovered like shortly after that. But listen to this thing. Uh-oh. Needs the other battery. We only have one battery in it right now. All right, second battery is in it. Fire this thing up. This thing sounds so good. Listen to that. It literally sounds. It's like a brand new engine. So I got my dad over here with me today. You ready to pull an engine?
I'm ready.
So what do you think of that? It's complicated looking?
It is, yeah.
So here, hold this thing real quick. I want to give her a rev and then I'm gonna turn her off. It sounds like a freaking spring, like it sounds brand new, like it rolled off the lot. Draining the coolant out of this thing right now. Basically batteries are in it. It's 100% together. Obviously the only thing that's really missing is the front bumper. It is 11:19 right now. So 11:19. Let's pull this thing. You ready? How long do you think? How long until cab's off?
2 hours.
2 hours. All right, let's see it. Gonna get her done. So he's gonna work on this side, I'm gonna work on this side. Basically battery, radiator hose, degas bottle, intercooler, piping, radiator fan, wiring harness laid on the engine, brake booster laid on the engine, steering shaft out, cab bolts. The nice thing about these 11 trucks versus I believe like the previous ones, like the earlies, cab bolts go up from the bottom. so you don't have to like remove the carpet in the interior and stuff, which actually saves a lot of time. Battery's coming out. I'm gonna set up a time lapse. We're gonna see how fast we get this thing out of here. All right guys, quick little update. It has been an hour and a half. Look at that, it is 12:46. An hour and 25 minutes. Dad, we're doing great.
We are.
So we don't have that much time. Or has it been an hour and 45 minutes? We started at 11:20 and it's basically 12:40. So yeah, it's been an hour and 25 minutes. Crazy. So probably one of the worst jobs about this whole thing is actually is all of the cab bolts. You cannot use an impact on them. They have like 2 inches of like blue thread locker on them. So as soon as you use an impact on them, because they're in rubber, it just shakes the rubber. It does. So you physically have to sit here and pull them. So good thing this is, you know, Southern truck, Colorado truck, whatever. It doesn't have any rust on them or anything like that. So they're coming out okay, but they're tight the whole way. Like as you're doing it, it's not like it gets easier and you can hand do it. It's like you're pulling. So battery box is out on this side. All of the connectors are disconnected. AC system has been discharged. So all of that stuff, we have the AC lines kind of laying over on the engine. As of right now, this can stay on, fan clutch could stay on. The upper radiator shroud actually just comes off. And the way that it works is the engine, the chassis actually sits down on the lower piece, so it's like a lip. So everything, as much stuff as we possibly can, we left intact on the truck. We disconnected steering shaft, we disconnected the brake boost or the brake master right here, and this basically lays over on the side. We have these connectors right here. These all go to the frame and the chassis, or the frame, so they stay down with the engine. Fuel lines stay with the engine. There is 2 sensors right here, ABS sensors. So 2 ABS sensors on each side, which are kind of in the way. You for sure have to unplug those. We have power steering. That will come out to the side once it gets up a little bit. So maybe we should actually do the lines. But power steering pump and all that stuff is staying on the engine, and power steering is staying down with the chassis or the frame. So the other thing, there is a ground right up under here. The ground is right above my dad. And then there is another ground on that side of the engine. These grounds right here stay, well, hold on. Do they stay? I think everything right here goes up with the engine. So just essentially just try to get as much stuff disconnected that looks like it stays, fold the harness over on the engine, lift up everything with the cab, and that's pretty much where we're at. So I think our estimate of 2 hours is going to be pretty freaking accurate. We might even beat it by like 5 minutes, because we have 30 minutes, Dad, and literally the only thing we have left is these cab bolts. So I think we're going to beat it. An hour and a half or an hour and 45 minutes essentially to have a cab off of a truck is a pretty big deal. So pretty cool. Obviously pretty complicated, but I was talking to my dad about, he's never pulled a cab on a truck like this. He popped the hood. He's like, uh-oh, you know, like looking at everything on the engine because you really can't even see anything. And I was like, you know, think of this as an assembly line. Like just, you have basically have somebody who could hop in and do anybody's job and essentially just pull the cab on these things or assemble these things as fast as they possibly can. So gonna get twisting bolts, get this thing hopefully out. Maybe we'll get both cabs done. We're a little bit off, I guess. So it's 2 o'clock now. We were supposed to have this. When was it supposed to be off? It's supposed to be off at 1:20 to be 2 hours. So we're 40 minutes late. So 2 hours and 40 minutes, and 100% of that was because of these freaking bolts. So the front ones were like freaking seized in there. You can see this one broke, but before it broke, it was fighting us literally the whole entire way. This one was absolutely insane how tight it was. And the front ones are actually in nuts. So there's like a castle nut that essentially sits right there in the frame. So you have to get a 22mm socket on the top. It was literally flexing. We had this 3/8 ratchet, the flex head ratchet, and this whole thing was twisting. Like it was like twisting sideways with how much force we were putting on it. What do you think? I mean, overall, if it wasn't for the
cab bolts were the worst part.
Oh yeah, like we literally spent an hour just with cab bolts, and that was it. Like, and it's crazy. Also, we were trying to add tension on them because they were kind of felt loose and wobbly. So we tried to lift it right there, and that kind of gave that the little bend. So potentially don't do that. So that's why we moved it back a little bit. So yeah, now just got to pull this thing, swap it over. All right, so now that this one is in this state, we essentially need to duplicate that same exact scenario with this thing. I think we can do it a little bit faster as long as we don't have issues with the bolts again. Otherwise, it'll probably take us 2 hours and 20 minutes or 2 hours and 40 minutes. I'd like to do it. It'd be cool if we could do it in an hour and a half. Nothing to it, but to do it, let's get to it. All right, so 2 hours and 54 minutes, and this thing is up. So got 2 cabs up. It's kind of an impressive. It's kind of cool. Like looking in here, you got a big old 12,000 pound bend pack lift, big old 12,000 pound bend pack lift to an F250, another F250, 6.7 Powerstroke, 6.7 Powerstroke. It's cool. It's a cool thing. It's awesome being able to actually lift the whole truck up and have confidence in it. You know, literally working under a 7,000 pound truck like in the shop. So yeah, the biggest things that held us up on this one, again, we almost had it ready to pull, I would say an hour and a half in. The only thing we had to do was the cab bolts. That was it. And so we've literally fought these cab bolts. Oh my goodness, I was pulling on it so hard. So we have this like 2.5 foot breaker bar right here. Let's see how many feet that is. 1, 2, 2.5 foot breaker bar. The thing is literally almost bending, like literally has a curve in it. It looks like a rainbow. And it freaking snaps back because it does this thing where it pops and it freaking basically slams me straight in the, like right here on the jaw. I'm surprised I didn't pass out. But I have an insane headache right now because of that. I feel like I have a concussion because of that. But now we have 1 broken bolt, another broken bolt, and another broken bolt. And then so we got 3 out good and 3 broke. So I don't know, the way that these things work is just, I don't know why they do them like this or not put some anti-seize or something on it. This is actually kind of insane how tight everything was. But this engine, well, the cab is up, the engine is not out, but now we need to do some stuff with, I think we're going to leave this transmission in here. This transfer case is actually an electronic shift transfer case. That is a manual shift transfer case. So technically we could swap the transfer cases and put that, you know, that lower mile transmission in here. But I think, you know, this transmission seemed fine. Everything seemed okay with it. Worst case scenario, we have to pull it out later and do something with it, but I think it should be fine. So we're going to try to leave this transmission actually in the truck how it is. Basically disconnect everything, do the torque converter bolts, lift the engine out, and then basically a similar process over here. But the only thing we're going to have to do is we're going to pull the engine and the transmission out together and then separate them on the ground. Or maybe we'll do it the other way. So lots of swapping. It's definitely a lot easier. When I did this previously, when I bought a 2011 from the auction, I just went to I went and bought an engine off of Craigslist from essentially a junkyard. So I had a 2011, I put a 2015 engine in it, which those have a different turbo, different CP4 pump. It's a CP 4.2, which is a better pump than these. And they also had a little bit bigger injectors, so they make a little bit more power. That's why from the factory, the 15s and 16s make 925 foot-pounds of torque, and these ones make I think they're like 800 and something. But still, impressive trucks. I love this engine. I love the transmission. I like the chassis. I like the axles. I mean, they drive good. For what they are, they're heavy duty. I love these trucks, and you know, now, what do you think?
I think it's a lot of work, but
it's a lot of work. Like, the cussing that has been taking place today is pretty freaking serious. But man, I can't believe I literally smacked myself in the face. Like, it's like I punched myself in the face is how it feels. So maybe it'll straighten me out. I don't know. But we're gonna get to work swapping things, and eventually this thing will work. All right, so need to do some stuff with tranny pump seal on this thing real quick, but as you can see, everything with it is really dirty. We have a lot of dirt, we got all the grime, we got all the things. We want to clean this frame up pretty decent before we just start, you know, assembling everything back together. Minimum just pressure wash. All right, so just pulled in the frame. It's been drying for a little bit. I went ahead and kind of threw a quick little kind of a dusting of paint on it. Not going super crazy and making it look like trashy with like a gloss black Rust-Oleum where you just paint everything. But this stuff right here, it's trim black and it is matte. So what that does is it mimics kind of like a factory, like what the frame would look like from the factory, and it's kind of like watery. So it's like, it's not like when you spray it on there, it just is like this super thick coat of paint. It's really thin, and it just kind of darkens everything up again and makes it look like a frame that's not, you know, from 2014 and has 200-some thousand miles on it. It just cleans it up. It's not glossy, it's not trashy looking, it doesn't look crazy, but it makes it look a lot better. And that was kind of the goal with that, is I didn't want to go crazy with it. And you know, it's slippery slope. Obviously I could pull this whole frame apart and powder coat it and try to take this thing to SEMA this year, but that's obviously not what the point of this truck is to get a truck back on the road. So another thing, getting a truck back on the road, me and my dad, we're gonna put this engine back in here the other night, or at least get it bolted up. I wanted to pressure wash the frame, but this thing right here, so this is a transmission vent. I think they changed them in 2014 because the one on that other transmission is just like a little loop. And so what it was doing was actually it had some transmission fluid pulled up very similar to right here. And I think what happened is, well, this thing, it looked like an anthill. You know, like one of those anthills that you see in Africa, and like the freaking anteaters go and they like eat all the ants at. Like, that's what it looked like. It was like a mound of dirt that had just built up on this thing, and this thing was completely clogged. So there was no ventilation for the transmission. And I think that was causing, obviously when it got hot, it would push a little bit of fluid out of the seal. I was concerned that maybe it might be some bearing issues right there, but I think that is all good. So I just grabbed a new bearing for that. So I'll pull the torque converter, throw the new bearing in there, and we should be good to go. Frame is looking good. Everything's pressure washed, all cleaned up, ready to go. Now pretty much the only thing left to do is jack this thing up, stick it in there, whack the torque converter bolts in it, and set the cab back. Well, actually no, hold on. Right here, we were swapping over some things and I broke a bolt. So it's not always sunshine and rainbows over here. Sometimes it's broken bolts. So you can see, broke a freaking bolt off for the EGR, and need to fix that. And then we also have these cab bolts right here that are stuck. So those are broken. I think I'm gonna use some heat, try to figure that out, try to get them unhooked, because obviously we have 3 cab bolts now. We have that one, and then this one, and we need to fix them all. So that's the goal. I'll show you guys the process as we're working through it. All right, so we're making some progress. So my dad has got that little guy tapped right there. What a pain in the butt, right?
Yep, major pain in the ass.
So got that all drilled, tapped, and then I got 2 of the 3 cab bolts out, and I figured out the trick. So the trick is MAP gas, some penetrating oil, a hammer, a little belt file right here, and then actually over there on the bench I have a really hot right now because I just got the last one done. This guy. So this is one of those little little jaws. So essentially what you do is it has basically, as soon as you put this guy in reverse on this guy right here, you can see how it bit. It took a nice bite into that, and then you can see all of the Loctite, how it's all like charred, and that's because I got it so hot. So that's the key, is basically just getting it super hot. You grind down the edge of this thing to where it kind of fits in there with a nice taper, to where it could slide up, get a really nice bite on that thing, and then essentially twist it out. I think the heat is the major component, and we're able to add a little bit of penetrating oil. Basically get it really hot, penetrating oil, really hot, a little bit more penetrating oil, and then really hot, a little bit more penetrating oil, and then twist it out and it comes out like butter. So that's that. These aren't like rusty, they're just mad, I guess. So continue. All right, so there she is, just like that. A little crooked. She's off. Key is just, I guess, melting off that freaking stuff at the front, because that's.
Yeah. Well, fuck, if we would have only known.
If we would have known. All right, so engine is back in, transmission is hooked up, bolted up, torque converter bolts, fuel lines. We have power steering hooked back up. We have radiator fan, all that stuff hooked up, serpentine belt, power steering things. We got the grounds hooked up, that's a big thing. Torque converter bolts, that was the big thing. Starter, that's also very important. Transmission dipstick. All of those things we swapped to that different style tube, so you can see how this one kind of goes over. And ouch, these things kind of hurt. Downpipe is on. Pretty much everything is on and should be ready to go. So yeah, everything's plugged in. All of our you know, cleaning up things are good. So yeah, nothing left to do but set her down. Hopefully it goes good. All the cab bolts are out, and yeah, I think we're making terrible time. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. We started messing with this thing at like 7 or 8. Actually, I think it's closer to 8, but here we go. All right, so it is 3 in the morning. Everything seems to be in the right spot.
Yep.
We hope. Still need to put coolant in it. It still has oil in it from previously. So I guess the only thing we have left to do is to key this unit on. Steering's hooked up so we can drive it technically. You ready? See what this guy does. Oh, it's mad. It says coolant. Service advanced track. Oh, ABS. Well, ABS, I don't know. It's probably just mad for a minute. Okay. Alright, so this engine ran 3 days ago in that truck right there. So it should start now. We put it actually in park. The gear shift lever was not connected. It's showing oil and it's coolant and it's just, it sounds mad. Ignition ain't doing nothing.
What was that?
Oh. All the lights are on. Yeah, the oil is like, it just shows oil pressure thing and it's just mad. I don't know. Check back in a minute. Nothing. All right, so it is 3:30 in the morning. We're freaking tired. It said it lost communication with the ECU, lost communication with the ABS control module, lost communication with the transmission control module. So some things, probably connector, something isn't fully connected, or a wire got split, because obviously you're tugging on stuff, you're pulling on stuff, you're pulling connectors apart. So maybe there was a corroded wire, and then we were wiggling things. Either way, tired, gonna go home for the night. So shout out to my dad.
Hey,
he's got to go to work tomorrow. I gotta come back here tomorrow. We got some things to do. We got this Civic we got to finish building. If you haven't got no interest for that thing, wait till tomorrow. I don't know why, but I'm gonna wait till tomorrow to wake up. Well, actually it already is tomorrow, so today, don't wait. One time's interest. All right, I'm gonna go home and go to bed. All right, guys, so the Civic is washed. Look at that thing. That thing is fully cut and buffed. That is another video you guys probably seen before or after this one. But some good news. Obviously, I went home, I slept, I came here today. I had to work on some stuff in the office and cleaning up some stuff around here, cleaning up the Civic. Had a little bit of chance to think, and I narrowed it down to the issue of why it wouldn't start. So there is this plug right there. That plug has one of those clasps that that goes over the top right here, and it has one of those things. When we're taking it apart, literally it was stuck. Like, it just was like locked together. As you can tell, it's kind of above the tire, dirt, road grime, whatever gets on there. So check this out. I went ahead and I just gave it a squeeze with some channel locks. And, you know, I wasn't really videoing it because, so look at that. There we go, boys. So that is freaking running 6.7, silly goose. The turbo is on this, the 11 through 14 sound a lot different. So I don't know if you guys can hear that. It kind of has like a cough, and it's almost sounds like a blow-off valve on a turboed car. Diesels don't have a throttle body, so there's nothing to like open and close a blow-off valve with. But there is a wastegate on here, and I think it like opens and closes and flutters and does some weird things. So listen to it from up here. So truck sounds really good. Sounded really good in the other configuration, and it's weird because it sounded just that good before we took it apart, which the issue is pretty much the bearing material in the pan, which is why we ended up deciding to just go ahead and swap this thing. Obviously, I don't want to leave myself or anybody else stranded on the side of the road. That's no fun. So yeah, anyhow, the turbos on these are different. It's a dual ball or it's a ceramic ball bearing. It has like this dual compressor wheel on the inlet. Really odd, but I guess I spun the turbo wheel on this thing and it literally spins, just like you could blow on it and it spins, which is crazy for a big old diesel turbo. So I guess these things make near like instant boost and throttle response, and so they have a lot more like torque down low than, let's say, a 15 to 16, whereas my truck has like a normal style VGT turbo. It's a bigger VGT turbo. So I guess these ones feel a lot better down low, torque like off the line, and then the 15-16 trucks pull a lot harder up top and can make more overall power. So yeah, come back tomorrow, take this thing for a test drive, see how it's doing. I'm stoked though. All right guys, so the time has come to take this thing for its first drive. That connector has a zip tie on it. So we're gonna go ahead, hop in the truck, fire it up. This is technically the first time it's gonna move under its new engine power because I literally just set it off of the lift. But I'm so excited that this thing actually runs, that all of our work hopefully paid off, and that we don't have to push it around, because we did have to push this thing around quite a bit at the other shop. So service advance track it's mad. we'll back. I mean, it sounds so smooth. It sounds like a freaking brand new truck, honestly. It's crazy. Brakes kind of feel a little stiff. Maybe like the vacuum pump for the brakes isn't working or something. So I'm gonna continue backing this guy out and take it for a drive. All right, so backing out for the first time. Still has some check engine lights and trying to read some codes and stuff on it. The brakes, like the vacuum doesn't feel like it works. So I don't know what's up with that. I feel like there's a couple extra lights on the dash that used to not be there. So we have advanced track, ABS, brake light, and that check engine light right there. So honestly, it might be another connector up underneath the degas bottle over there. So just want to drive it up the street real quick, make sure the tranny and everything shifts, and then see how that goes. Speedometer's working, so. Oh my goodness. Well, it drives, it seems okay. I'm just gonna take it up the street real quick and then come back, try to plug in some more of those connectors, see if we can get some of these lights to go away. Alright, so first drive, going pretty well. It feels good, it's hitting boost, it's coming up on coolant and tranny temp. Tranny shifting good. I mean, it feels alright. It's not as fast as my truck. My truck obviously has probably different tunes and stuff like that on this one. I think this one has some sort of probably like a stock / towing tune on it, but I don't have any controller, so I can't really tell. It's kind of weird with the old style mirrors, but it's driving okay. Definitely want to fix those check engine lights and definitely want to fix the vacuum for the brake booster, because when you hit the brakes, you gotta freaking hit the brakes. So just kind of taking it easy, but yeah, it's kind of weird being in like the work truck version of my truck, but you know, it works. All right, so I figured out the issue. As you can see, all of the check engine lights have now went away. You can see right there, All right, so truck is outside and figured it out. I got that thing all figured out with that connector. Check engine light is completely off. I went ahead and pressure washed off this little piece right here because it was all like dusty on the top of it. So as far as I know, everything seems good. This thing runs, it drives, it's pretty much ready to work, whether it be for me or somebody else. So as of right now, the guy who was gonna buy my truck, my friend, he actually backed out. There was another guy that was interested and he also backed out, couldn't get approved through his bank. And so now I still have my truck and it hasn't sold yet. So this thing is either, I'm gonna continue trying to sell my truck and then I guess I'll list this one as well, and whatever one sells, I'm gonna take that money, put it in the business, pay some things down. And again, the whole purpose of this thing is just because, you know, I bought a lot of things. I have a lot of stuff that I am trying to sell. I am trying to liquidate because I want to use that cash to, you know, for builds and other things. And selling my truck made the most sense at the time because I have options like this to drive, you know, for a while until I could kind of, you know, sell some other things, get some things kind of working a little bit better. Also picked up a door for this side, some new mirrors, and a front bumper lip. So overall, we did an absolute ton of work in this video, swapping it all out. I don't know if it seemed like it, but this thing is absolutely disgusting on the inside right now. You can see this thing. I have those other seats, but we'll have another video out on this truck here soon. Painting the door, painting this door. You can see there's a bunch of other things right there, so we'll have to kind of diagnose the bodywork on it, replace a lot of this interior, the front seats, the rear seats, all that stuff, clean up the dash, and try to get this truck kind of presentable. So overall, that's pretty much it for the truck update. If you guys haven't got entered for a chance to win the Civic, this thing so freaking clean. We actually just cut and buffed it, so you can see how freaking flat and beautiful this paint is. It's just crazy. Like that's me, that's the reflection, like that's it. You can see the reflection right there. It's just crazy, like how nice this thing is. Like you just look down the side and you're like, oh, like that's the side of the car. So if you guys want that, if you want to get interest for chance to win this thing, everything on MotionAuto.com. that you want. Every $1 spent is 1 entry. Also, we have a Civic bundle that you get 50 bonus entries in, and you get 3 shirts and some other cool products that we did for the latest merch drop for this giveaway. So sorry about the little ad here at the end, but appreciate you guys watching. See you in the next one.